Okay, you guys, we'll open up with exercise 11-1 on page 631. Part of this will be a review. I think most of it will, this first exercise, but we have one method here that I'm pretty sure you haven't seen before, especially if you had my course for financial. But we're going to calculate depreciation expense for over a 5-year period using 4 different methods of calculating depreciation. Well, let's read through the problem first. On January 1, 2016, the Excel delivery company purchased a delivery van for $33,000. At the end of its 5-year service life, it's estimated that the van will be worth $3,000. During the 5-year period, the company expects to drive the van 100,000 miles. Okay, calculate annual depreciation expense for the 5-year life of the van using each of the following methods. Round all computations to the nearest dollar. Okay. First, they want straight line method. Well, that one's pretty easy, you guys. I've included the formula here in the template. When we're using the straight line method, we're calculating annual depreciation expense. So our formula is cost minus the residual value divided by the useful life in years. So under the straight line method, we'll take the same amount of depreciation expense each year that we use the asset in the business. Okay, so we're going to say cost $33,000 minus residual value of $3,000 divided by the useful life in years, 5 years, and we come out with $6,000. That's depreciation expense per year. So at the end of every year, we would debit depreciation expense and credit accumulated depreciation for $6,000 under the straight line method. Okay, this second one I think is going to be a new method for you, sum of the year's digits. Okay, so the rate you'll use here, okay, the first thing we're going to do, sum of the year's digits, we're going to add together all of the years that we are going to use the business. So, and I think I can show you better than I can tell you. So what we're going to do is say, okay, we've got 5 years total, so we're going to add together 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5. Not percentage, plus 5. Sum of the year's digits. We've got year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, and year 5. So when we add all those together, we get 15. That number is going to be your denominator in each rate that we use. Okay, your depreciable base would be cost minus residual value. So that's equal to 33,000 minus 3,000. That amount, our depreciable base, will be the same each year. Okay, and then we're going to multiply times our rate. Well, in this case, the rate is going to be how many years in the useful life? We have 5 in total, divided by 15, sum of the year's digits. So it's going to be equal to, equals 30,000 times 5 divided by 15, or $10,000. Alright, and then each year we're going to multiply again, except the rates changes slightly each year. The next year we've got 4, so we're counting them down, right? 4 divided by 15. So this one's going to be equal to 30,000 times 4 divided by 15. Okay, the next year our rate will be 3 over 15. So it's going to be equal to 30,000 times 3 divided by 15. The next year our rate's going to be 2 over 15. So it's going to be equal to 30,000 times 2 divided by 15. And then the last year is 1 over 15. And it's going to be equal to our 30,000 times 1 divided by 15, or 2,000. Okay, now let's sum this column. And we should get back to our depreciable base of 30,000. And that's our total. Okay, with all the methods, you guys, the total depreciation taken over the useful life would come back to our cost minus residual value. So if you say it up here, 6,000 times 5 comes back to our 30,000 as well. Okay, double declining balance. Well, the first thing we want to do is calculate the straight line rate. It's equal to 1 over the useful life in years, or 1 over 5. So that gives us 0.2. We could show that as a percentage if we want. I think that might be better. It'd be 20% as a percentage. Let's do that. Okay, then we want to double the straight line rate, or multiply it by 2. So equals 20% times 2, 0.4, or 40%. Okay, so that's the rate we'll use. And then they tell us what? Every year until the final year, multiply cost minus all prior years' depreciation by the rate from B, which is 40%. So let's do that here. 2016 cost minus all prior years' depreciation. Well, at this point we haven't depreciated the equipment at all, so our cost was 33,000. It's the easiest place to miss that one. A lot of people want to use 30,000. So we're going to multiply by the rate from B, which is 40%. And then equals, well, it's going to be equal 33,000 times 40%, 13,200. Okay, well, this 40% is going to be the same each time. The rate's going to remain the same, except we won't use the rate in the final year. Okay, in year 2, it's going to be equal to our cost, 33,000, minus depreciation already taken, 13,200. Then we're going to multiply times the rate. Except we don't want that there. Let's see. Here we want cost minus all prior years' depreciation, so it's equal to 33,000 minus the 13,200. Alright, then we're going to multiply by the rate. So it equals 19,800 times the rate of 40%. Gets you 79,20. Alright, cost minus all prior years' depreciation. Well, our cost again was 33,000 minus the depreciation from year 1 minus the depreciation from year 2. So it gets us 11,880. And we're going to multiply that by 40% and get our answer over here. So it's equal to 11,880 times 40%, 4,752. Alright, so we're still on this step C. Every year until the final year, multiply cost minus all prior years' depreciation by the rate from B. Okay, so again, we want cost 33,000 minus all prior years depreciation. So you get 7128. So it's equal to 7128 times our rate of 40% to 2851. Now in the final year, you forget about the rate. Okay, in the final year, subtract all prior years depreciation and the residual value from cost. So that's how we get our amount here. So we'll just say 33,000 minus all prior years depreciation, so minus this one, minus 7920, minus the 4752, minus the 2851, and then we're going to subtract our residual value of 3,000, and we end up with 1,277 depreciation expense in 2020. Now we want our total. And it's just going to be the sum of these, and it should come back to 30,000. Cost minus residual value. And there you go. Okay. Now the last one we're going to look at in this exercise, units of production. The first step here is to calculate depreciation expense per some unit of output. In this case, we're going to use miles on the van. So our formula is cost minus residual value divided by the useful life in miles. So it's equal to our cost, 33,000, minus the residual value of 3,000, divided by the useful life in miles. That was 100,000 miles, and that comes out to 30 cents per mile is how much we're going to depreciate the van each year. Okay, well, how many miles was the van driven in 2016? That's 22,000 times our rate, and we'll use that at least for the first 4 years, and that's going to be equal to 22,000 miles times 30 cents per mile, $6,600. Then in 2017, the van was driven 24,000 miles. Times our 30 cents per mile is going to give us our depreciation expense, so that's equal to 24,000 times 30 cents per mile gives us 7,200. And in 2018, the van was driven 15,000 miles. Times the 30 cents. It's going to be equal to 15,000 miles times the 30 cents per mile. That gives us 4,500. Then in year 4, or 2019, the van was driven 20,000 miles. And we're going to multiply by our rate per mile. So we get 20,000 miles times 30 cents per mile. That's $6,000 depreciation expense in 2019. Okay, now remember our depreciation expense in total over the 5-year period has to equal 30,000. This would work out, you guys, if the miles driven were exactly equal to 100,000. I don't think that they are, though. You got 46, and then 51, 61, 81, 21 gives us, what, 102. So in this final year, instead of using the rate, what you'll do is say 30,000, the depreciable cost. Okay, that's how much we're going to depreciate the van in total, minus the depreciation we've already taken. So minus the $6,600 from year 1, the $7,200 from year 2, the $4,500 from year 3, and the $6,000 from year 4. And that gives us $5,700 depreciation expense for 2020. You guys, it's just what we haven't taken already. If you multiplied by the rate, the miles by the rate in 2020, then this total amount would be over $30,000, and we can't depreciate it further than or any more than cost minus residual value. So this last year we just end up subtracting on this one as well, much like we did on the double declining balance. Okay, you guys, I don't think you'll have any problem with the one on the Cengage Now site after working this one with me. If you have any questions, please be in touch. Thanks a lot.